The spaceport on Tower 9 was loud and full of smoke. Ships came and went, traders shouted over prices, and machines beeped without pause. Among the chaos, a small figure stood quietly beside her cargo crate. Her name was Mira. She was from Earth, just. A simple woman with calloused hands and worn boots. Her job was to deliver food from her small farm to off-world markets. She had no armor, no weapons, no fancy translator chip. Just a worn leather pouch, a small data pad, and calm eyes that watched everything. Mira had delivered 10 crates of preserved vegetables. But something had gone wrong. A large alien transport ship had exploded its loading arm while Mira's crate was nearby. Sparks flew, a siren screamed, and Mira found herself surrounded by security bots. "Human Mira," a cold robotic voice said, "you are charged with sabotage of property owned by Courtroom Company. You will be taken to the Outer Rim High Court." Mira didn't resist. She didn't even speak. She just picked up her bag and followed the bots. 2 days later, Mira stood in a cold courtroom. Metal walls surrounded her, and at the far end sat Judge Garak, an alien with gray-blue skin, 6 small eyes and golden rings on his long fingers. He wore a robe so thick it looked like armor. He looked at Mira like one looks at a fly unspoiled. "Food, another human," he said in a deep voice. "Do you have a lawyer?" "No, Your Honor," Mira replied calmly. The courtroom laughed. Aliens of all shapes and colors sat in the viewing area. A few whispered and giggled. "She doesn't even have a translator chip. She's going to lose. Humans are always so weak." But Mira just looked at the judge. "I will defend myself," she said. Garak raised an eyebrow. "You, a farmer from Earth? Do you know anything about galactic law?" "I know enough," she said. Gorak waved his hand. "Fine, let the trial begin. But don't expect mercy." The first witness was a Courtroom officer named Pelf. He showed blurry footage of the damaged crane and claimed Mira's crate was scanned with interference. "Signals. She placed a device inside," Pelf said. "This led to a delay and major financial loss." Mira stepped forward. "Was my crate opened?" she asked. "No," said Pelf. "Then how do you know what was inside?" Pelf blinked. The scanner showed. The scanner also showed the metal arm had old damage. "Did you report that damage before this accident?" Pelf hesitated. "That's not relevant." "I think it is," Mira said quietly. The room went silent. Garak narrowed his eyes. Next came the legal assistant, an alien with sharp teeth and a smooth voice. He spoke quickly, citing codes and rules. Mira listened without interrupting. When he finished, Mira walked up and said one sentence. "Section 17C of Galactic Trade Rulebook says, a trader is not responsible for third-party mechanical failure unless sabotage is proven with physical evidence. Do you have any physical proof?" The assistant froze. Garak shifted in his seat. Mira looked around. "I may be a simple woman, but I read before I travel. I read everything. Law books, trade policies, ship safety protocols." Garak tried to look amused. "Reading is one thing. Winning a case is another." Mira didn't reply. She simply took out her datapad and placed it on the table. Later that day, during the break, other humans in the court building started whispering. "Did you hear what she did? She quoted a hidden law section. She made the assistant stutter." Mira sat on a bench, drinking water slowly. An alien janitor passed by and whispered, "You're not what you seem." Mira smiled. "Most people aren't." Back in court, Mira asked for access to the maintenance logs of the Courtroom ship. "You don't have the authority to ask for that," Garak snapped. "Yes, I do," Mira said. Section 44E of Trader's Defense Protocol. If evidence can prove equipment failure, the defendant has the right to request full logs. The courtroom murmured again. Garak stared at her. "Fine, request granted." That night, in her small holding cell, Mira opened the logs. She didn't sleep. Her fingers flew over her datapad. She cross-checked every part number, every maintenance date, every repair report. She found what she was looking for. Next morning, court resumed. Mira stood tall, despite her worn boots and dusty clothes. I have found reports, she said, that show the crane arm failed inspections 3 times in the last 6 months. It was never repaired. She looked straight at Gorak. The accident was caused by their own failure, not mine. Gorak looked angry. Health jumped up. Objection. Denied, Mira said before Gorak could. You already gave your testimony. The audience gasped. A few clapped quietly before stopping. Gorak banged his gavel. Enough, Mira bowed slightly. Understood, Your Honor. After court ended, a small alien with soft green fur came to Mira in the hallway. You're really from Earth? He asked. Yes. And you're really a farmer? Yes. Then how do you know the law? Mira smiled. Because a long time ago, when Earth first joined the Galactic Union, I was curious. So I read everything. I may not be rich, I may not have a title, but I can read, and I remember. The alien blinked, then slowly nodded. They won't expect you to win. Mira looked back toward the courtroom door. That's their mistake, she said. The courtroom of the Outer Rim High Court was known by one name among traders and travelers, the Court of No Mercy. Few who stood before Judge Gorak ever walked away free, especially not humans. His rulings were feared. His words were final. And once a person entered, they were expected to lose. But this time, something was different. Mira walked in again, quiet and alone, her boots still dusty. She looked like a person who didn't belong in a room full of high-ranking officials, lawyers, and aliens with glowing robes. Yet her steps were calm, her eyes clear. She stood at the defense table without fear. Judge Gorak stared down at her. His robe shimmered gold under the ceiling lights. His voice was cold. Human Mira, you continue to defend yourself. Do you wish to call another witness? Yes, Your Honor, Mira said. I would like to question the repair technician of the Krovan ship. A tall spider-like alien with thin legs came forward. Its name was Teklo. Its translator voice was sharp and clicking. I was called to fix the crane system twice, Teklo said, but the captain delayed both repairs. Mira nodded. And do you have proof of that? Teklo held out a report. Mira walked over, checked it, and showed it to the court. Filed 2 months ago. Another filed last week. Both ignored, she said. Judge Gorak leaned forward. This does not prove sabotage. No, Mira said. But it proves that the Krovan ship had a known failure. And still they blamed me for the damage. The prosecutor, a smooth-talking alien named Varn, stood next. Mira is not a trained legal worker, Varn said. She is a farmer. She should not be allowed to use the court as a stage. The audience chuckled. Mira calmly responded, Galactic. Law Section 1A says that anyone accused has the right to defend themselves, no matter their profession. Varn frowned. Mira took a slow breath. Also, I would like to see the security footage of the accident from the port's camera tower. Judge. Gorak's eyes narrowed. That file is sealed. Under Rule 12 of Fair Access Protocol, Mira said, sealed footage can be opened if it contains possible evidence for the defense. Gasps filled the room. Even a few alien lawyers whispered in surprise. Gorak's hand trembled slightly. You're pushing too far. I'm only asking for my rights, Mira said quietly. After a short recess, the footage was played. The large screen above the court showed Mira's crate being moved. Then, in the corner, a flash of sparks burst from the crane arm. It dropped hard onto another crate nearby, but Mira was standing far from the controls. She pointed. There, the controls exploded before my crate touched the arm. Silence. Then murmurs. A small alien near the back whispered, She's not just smart. She's dangerous. Back in her room that night, Mira sat with her datapad. She tapped through files, reading old rulings made by Judge Gorak. Something didn't sit right. She found a pattern: small traders losing cases, especially humans. And new alien species. Each time, the same companies won. One of them was KROV, and Mira made a note in her pad. Next day in court, Mira stood again. I would like to show a list of past cases handled by Judge Gorak. Gorak raised a brow. This court is not on trial. No, but I think your past rulings show bias, Mira said. Objection. Varn shouted, but Mira placed a list on the screen. In the last 50 cases involving human traders, 48 lost under your judgment. In 30 of those, the winning party was a company with ties to Krovan. A wave of noise went through the courtroom. Gorak slammed his gavel. Order. Mira stayed calm. Your Honor, if there is no bias, then you should have no fear of this information. Gorak glared at her, his fingers tapping the bench. After court, Mira was stopped by a journalist from the Interstellar News Network. Miss Mira, he asked, do you have legal training? I've read a lot, she said. Why are you really doing this? Mira looked up at the stars through a glass ceiling. Because when I was a girl, Earth had no voice out here. We were ignored. I want to show that even someone small, someone quiet, can stand for the truth. The reporter nodded. You're making history. I'm not trying to, Mira replied. I just want justice. Inside his private office, Judge Gorak slammed his fist into the table. She's just a farmer, he growled. How does she know the law like this? His assistant, a thin gray alien named Selek, looked nervous. She quoted rules even I forgot existed, Selek sighed. Should we call in backup? Gorak stared at the wall. Not yet. She's clever, but she's still alone. Meanwhile, Mira sat alone in her cold room. She didn't sleep. She read more cases, more rulings. She took notes. She marked lies. She prepared questions no one would expect. She knew Judge Gorak was powerful. But power built on lies always cracked with time, and Mira was good at finding cracks. The courtroom was more crowded than ever. Reporters, traders, and alien diplomats had filled every seat. What began as a small case between a human farmer and a large alien company had now become something bigger. Everyone wanted to see how Mira, the so-called simple woman from Earth, would challenge a powerful judge, but Mira didn't care about the crowd. She stood where she always stood, straight, calm, and focused. Her brown coat was still worn, her datapad still scratched, but her eyes were sharper than ever. Judge Gorak sat with his usual cold face, but something in his posture had changed. He no longer leaned back in comfort. He leaned forward now, eyes fixed on Mira, watching her like a problem he didn't know how to solve. Miss Mira, said the prosecutor Varn, with a forced smile. Let's return to the facts. You were at the spaceport. Your crate was next to the broken crane. That's still enough to make you responsible, is it not? Mira nodded. I was there, yes. But being near a problem doesn't mean I caused it. Varn raised a brow. And yet the scanner detected signals from your crate? Yes, Mira said. Because my crate used a basic tracker chip. It sends out a harmless ping every hour to help locate shipments. The same chip used by over 1,000 traders. I have the model number, tech manual, and even the safety rating approved by the Galactic Union. She uploaded the files to the court display. The audience watched in silence. And if you compare the signal of that chip to the supposed interference signal, Mira continued, you'll see they are nearly the same. The scanner most likely misread it. The technician from earlier was called again. After reviewing the data, he hesitated, then gave a short nod. It is possible, he said, that the scanner misread the signal. The courtroom stirred. Varn's smile vanished. After the session, Mira sat on the court balcony, looking out at the stars. An alien woman with silver skin approached and sat beside her. You speak like a lawyer. The woman said, "But you walk like a farmer." Mira smiled. "That's because I'm both." "Sort of. Where did you learn?" Mira thought for a moment. "When Earth joined the Galactic Union, I got curious. I started reading law documents for fun. Most people found them boring. I didn't." "You have no degree, no certificate, no title. Just pages and memory." The woman nodded slowly. "You're changing things." Mira looked away. "I'm just trying to survive." That night, Mira returned to her room and opened her datapad again. She wasn't finished yet. She opened the file she had quietly built over the past 3 days. A private folder named Gorak Pattern. Inside were notes from his past rulings, cases where evidence was denied without reason, where small traders were fined, where the same companies always won. Over time, Mira had seen a shape form behind his judgments. A pattern. She highlighted 10 of the most suspicious cases and marked them with tags. Weak evidence, rushed trial, no translator, and worst of all, conflict of interest. Mira had found something big. Next morning, before court started, Mira submitted a motion. Judge Gorak read it slowly. His hand twitched. "You're requesting access to financial records of this court?" He said aloud. "Yes, Your Honor," Mira said. Gorak laughed coldly. "On what grounds?" Mira stepped forward and spoke clearly. "On the grounds of a possible violation of the Galactic Fair Trial Act. If a judge profits directly or indirectly from outcomes, the case must be reviewed and the judge removed from authority." Gasps filled the courtroom. Gorak's eyes narrowed. "You accuse me of corruption?" "I don't accuse," Mira said calmly. "I asked the law to reveal the truth." Varn stood up quickly. "Your Honor, this is offensive. She is making baseless claims." Mira replied, "Then you won't mind if we check?" Gorak was silent for a long moment. His 6 fingers tapped his desk slowly. "Fine," he said finally. "The records will be reviewed. But if you are wrong, Mira, your punishment will double." Mira bowed slightly. "Understood." That evening, a quiet message arrived on Mira's datapad. It was from a junior clerk, an alien who worked deep inside the court system. "I've seen strange things too." The message said, "Check the case of Trader Holen. It was rushed. No jury. Decision made in under 1 hour." Mira opened the file. Holen's case had the same signs. No legal help, no translator, unclear evidence, and again, Judge Gorak ruled in favor of a company linked to Croven. She added it to her folder. Now she had 11 strong examples. Next day, Mira brought everything to court. Judge Gorak looked annoyed before the session even began. "I hope your games are over," he said. Mira spoke firmly. "I would like to submit a formal corruption complaint to the Interstellar Oversight Council." Gorak leaned back, pretending to smile. "You think they will listen to you?" "I think they will listen to proof." She uploaded her full file to the court record, including the list of suspicious cases, her findings, and a note from the junior clerk marked anonymous. For the first time, even the audience didn't speak. One of the legal observers stood. "I recommend a pause in trial until the complaint is reviewed," she said. Gorak tried to object, but the rules were clear. When a corruption claim was officially filed, the trial could no longer continue under the same judge until the review ended. Mira had changed the entire direction of the court with one action. Later that day, as Mira walked through the halls, other traders and aliens moved aside to let her pass. Some nodded, some looked at her with quiet respect. Even the security bots paused briefly before scanning her ID. Back in her room, Mira finally sat down. Her hands trembled slightly. She had stood up against the most feared judge in the Outer Rim, and she wasn't done yet. For the first time in 10 years, Judge Gorak's courtroom was closed for review. A silent notice flashed over the entrance. Trial paused. Oversight Council investigation in progress. Mira sat alone in a side room, her hands folded neatly. In her lap, her datapad rested beside her, quiet and still. She had submitted her evidence, called out the corruption, and now the galaxy was watching. But she didn't look proud or angry, just focused, like a person who still had more work to do. Far above the planet, a council ship arrived. It was sleek, silver, and carried no weapons. Its job was truth. Inside were 3 beings, neutral inspectors from 3 different species. They wore no judge robes, no armor, and spoke very little. But their presence made everyone nervous. The lead inspector, a blue-skinned being named Heaven, had only one task: find out if Myra's accusations were true. Judge Gorak, in his private chamber, was boiling with anger. "She dares call me corrupt?" he growled. His assistant Selleck whispered, "The Oversight Council has full access now. They're checking everything." Gorak grabbed a glass and crushed it in his fist. "She was just a dirt-born farmer, a background nobody." "But she studied," Selleck said. "And worse, she's right." In a small side hall, the Inspector Heaven met with Myra. "You speak well," Heaven said. "But do you understand what happens if your claim is false?" "Yes," Myra said calmly. "I will be fined, banned from trade, and possibly imprisoned." "And you're still sure?" Myra looked him in the eye. "I trust the law. I trust the truth." Heaven gave a slow nod. "Then we begin." Over the next 2 days, the inspectors studied hundreds of files. They checked case records, payment logs, trial footage, and private messages files that only high-level systems could open. They found something: payments sent to Judge Gorak's personal account from companies connected to the very cases he ruled on, and hidden names of company board members, some of whom were old friends of Gorak. Heaven looked at the files in silence. "It's real," he finally said. She was right. Word spread fast across Tower 9 and even beyond. Judge under investigation. Human farmer brings down corrupt system. Myra of Earth, the law speaker. Reporters from across the Outer Rim tried to reach her, but Myra refused every interview. She had no interest in fame. She spent her time in her quiet room, still reading, still preparing, waiting for the trial to return. Finally, on the 4th day, court opened again. This time, Judge Gorak did not sit at the high bench. Instead, a temporary neutral judge from the council took his place, an older being with soft eyes and a deep voice. "We are here to continue the case of Myra of Earth versus the Croven Company," the judge said, "and to investigate misuse of legal power." The courtroom was packed. Croven's lawyer, Varn, looked pale. He tried to smile but failed. Myra stood at the same spot she always had, simple and steady. "I would like to submit new documents," Myra said. Proof that Croven's leader, Chief Dalar, gave secret payments to Judge Gorak during several court cases. She uploaded the files. The court display showed hidden messages, bank transfers, and logs of private meetings. The judge turned to Varn. "Is Croven ready to answer these charges?" Varn froze. He looked down at his datapad, then said nothing. The judge nodded. "Then, we will proceed." During the trial, Myra asked to call one last witness, a retired human trader named Tomil. Tomil walked slowly, with a limp, but his voice was clear. "Years ago, I lost a case here," he said. "Judge Gorak denied me a translator. I didn't understand half the questions. My ship was taken. I lost everything." Myra showed the record of that case. It had the same signs: missing files, short trial, and Croven Company winning again. Judge leaned back. "This is becoming a pattern." Myra spoke softly. "Not just a pattern, a plan." Gorak used his seat to help certain companies grow rich, while small traders were crushed. By now, even the other lawyers in the room were watching Myra with respect. She had come without a team, without a degree, and without protection, but she had done what no one else dared. She had pulled off Gorak's mask. That evening, the court made its decision. Gorak was found guilty of corruption and permanently removed from his position. His private funds were frozen, and an order was sent for full review of every case he handled in the last 10 years. The Courtroom company was fined and banned from trade for 5 years. And Mira? Mira was declared innocent. All charges were dropped. She was offered money, awards, and even a place on the Oversight Council. But Mira shook her head. "I only wanted the truth," she said. "Now I'll go home." Before she left, the new judge approached her. "You could teach," he said. "Your knowledge is rare. Your voice is powerful. I have fields to tend," she said with a smile. "But maybe I'll write," he nodded. "Then I hope others read your words." As Mira walked through the spaceport to return home, many people stepped aside for her. Some bowed. Others clapped softly. A few whispered her name, but Mira didn't stop. She carried her datapad in one hand, a small travel bag in the other, and walked calmly toward the ship that would take her back to Earth. Not as a hero, not as a warrior, but as a simple woman, the one who reminded the galaxy what truth looked like. The stars above Earth were calm, peaceful. Mira sat on the porch of her small farmhouse, her hands resting on her knees. It had been 2 weeks since she returned from Tower 9. The fields were green again. Her crates were full of vegetables. The birds sang, and the soil smelled like home. But Mira couldn't rest. Something was bothering her. The trial was over. Gorak was gone. Courtroom company had been punished. But one thing still didn't feel right. Mira opened her datapad. She scrolled through the old files again, the financial logs, the list of court cases, the sealed documents she had unlocked. A few lines caught her attention, things she hadn't studied deeply before. There were payments made not just to Gorak, but to someone else, a hidden account, buried under layers of code. She tapped her fingers on the table. "There's another hand behind this," she whispered. The next day, she sent a message to Haven, the inspector from the Oversight Council. "I found something strange in the financial trails," she wrote. "More payments, not to Gorak, someone else." Haven responded within the hour. "Send everything. I'll open a quiet investigation." Mira smiled. She didn't go looking for trouble, but if trouble was hiding under a mask, she wasn't afraid to pull it off. Back in the Galactic Union's capital, on a space station called Laura Prime, Haven sat in his office, reading Mira's new report. His eyes narrowed as he scrolled through the records. Payments to a council official, a high one, someone who should have had nothing to do with court cases at all. Haven stood and called his assistant. "Contact the internal ethics team. We have a larger problem." 3 days later, Mira received a private message. "You were right. The corruption goes deeper. Councillor Vorex is under review." He approved Gorak's promotion and protected him from earlier complaints. "This may go to a full council trial." Mira read the message twice. She had thought it was over. Now, the galaxy's highest law body was under fire. She sighed and stood up. Earth's wind blew through her hair. Chickens clucked behind her house. A delivery drone dropped off new farming tools. Still, her datapad beeped again. Another message from someone new. The message came from a small alien named Bryn, a traitor from a colony called Felner. His message was short. "I saw what you did. I've lost everything in a similar trial. I never fought back, but I want to now. Will you help me?" Mira paused. She had told herself she was done. She wanted her quiet life back, but something inside her heart said no. The next day, Mira replied, "Send me your case files." Within hours, the files arrived. Bryn had been sued by a shipping guild. He had no lawyer, no translator, and the trial lasted just 30 minutes. The judge? Another friend of Courtroom. Mira studied the file line by line, and then she found its same signatures, same hidden law violations, same unfair ruling. "This isn't one bad judge," Mira whispered. "It's a system." She sent Bryn a simple message. We'll build your case together. For the next 5 days, Mira worked from her small farm. Her crops still grew, her animals still needed care, but her datapad stayed close. She read laws, compared files, and created timelines. Soon, she had a full case against the shipping guild and their partner judges. Bryn was nervous. "I'm not like you," he said in a shaky voice. "I don't know how to fight." "You don't have to," Myra said gently. "That's why I'm here." On the 6th day, Mira filed the case with the regional court. She didn't travel herself this time. She sent the documents through the legal system with Bryn's name as the lead. Mira's name on the case made it news. Mira of Earth returns. Exposing more corruption. A simple woman turns into a legal force. More traitors began sending her messages. Some thanked her, some asked for help, some were scared, but all of them had stories. In the Galactic Council's halls, whispers filled the air. "She's just a farmer, and she's doing what our best legal minds couldn't. She's making us look like fools. Or maybe she's showing us the truth." Meanwhile, Counselor Vorax was called to a secret hearing. The inspectors showed him records of bribes, hidden deals, and connections to 5 corrupt judges across 3 sectors. His face turned pale. Still, he denied everything. But Mira had also sent her files to the media. Within a day, everything became public. The citizens of many worlds demanded answers. Protests began. Small traders marched outside court buildings. The name Mira was painted on banners. Her image was turned into art, her words shared in markets and shipyards. Back on Earth, Mira kept working in silence. She refused money. She refused fame. But she never refused the truth. Late at night, she got one more message. This one was from a young girl from a moon station near Gamma 4. "I want to be like you one day," the message said. "I don't have much, but I'm reading the law now." "Thank you," Mira smiled. She looked out at the stars, then down at the soft soil beneath her feet. The galaxy was large, the problems were deep, but one voice spoken clearly, calmly, with truth, could still echo across the stars. Rain fell softly on Mira's farm. She walked between her vegetable rows, wearing a wide straw hat, boots covered in mud. The clouds above were heavy, but her thoughts were heavier. More cases had come to her. More messages. More pain. Every day. Her datapad filled with requests from strangers across the galaxy. People who had lost everything in unfair trials. Traders crushed by big companies. Small workers silenced by bribes and fear. She never asked for this responsibility. But she couldn't ignore it either. Mira wiped her hands on a cloth and walked inside. Her datapad was already blinking. A message from the Galactic Union. "You are invited to speak before the Galactic Council." The message read, "We believe your voice is needed during the upcoming reforms. A secure transport will arrive in 2 days." Mira read it 3 times. She had once stood alone in a court where no one cared. Now the highest law body in the galaxy was asking her to speak. She didn't smile. She just nodded. 2 days later, a silver ship landed near her field. It was quiet, smooth, shaped like a folded leaf. The pilot was a gentle-looking alien with soft blue eyes. "Miss Mira," he said, "we'll reach Laura Prime in 5 hours. Are you ready?" "No," Mira said honestly, "but I'm going anyway." The Galactic Council building was massive. It floated above Laura Prime like a crown. Glass towers, white steel bridges, and silver banners that shimmered in the light of 3 suns. Inside, it was quiet, cold, serious. Leaders from hundreds of planets filled the room. Each sat behind a glowing desk, each one representing a world, a voice, a power. And then there was Myra. She wore her brown coat. She carried her scratched datapad. She stood on the central platform, a spotlight on her face. The silence was heavy. Then the council chairperson spoke. "Citizen Mira of Earth, we welcome you. You may speak." Mira took a slow breath. Then she began. I'm not here as a lawyer, she said. Or a politician, or a leader. I'm a farmer. I grow food. I load crates. I read books at night because I want to understand the world I live in. She paused. I stood in a courtroom where no one believed me. I faced a judge who took bribes and destroyed lives. And I defended myself not with strength, but with law, with truth. Some council members nodded, others just watched. I uncovered corruption not because I'm special, but because I read carefully and refuse to be silent. What does that say about our system? She asked. That one simple woman found what many missed. More whispers filled the room. I do not want to be famous. I do not want a seat here, but I do want this place to listen. The law must protect the weak. It must serve all people, not just the powerful. She raised her datapad. This device holds files from dozens of victims, people like me. And I am asking this council to open a new investigation, to reform the legal system, to rebuild trust. She ended with 5 words, do not let this rot. The room went quiet. Then applause. Not loud, but real. One voice stood. Then another. Then many. Later that night, Mira stood alone on a balcony. Below, the lights of the city sparkled like stars. She felt small again, but this time, not powerless. Chairperson Vela came to stand beside her. A tall woman with gray skin and kind eyes. You speak clearly, Vela said. Only because I'm tired of lies, Mira replied. Vela nodded. The council will act. Your case forced us to look deeper. Changes will come. Mira looked at the stars. Good, then maybe others won't suffer like we did. The next day, the council announced new reforms. Judges would face regular reviews. All traders would have access to fair translation, no matter their species or money. A new branch called the People's Advocate Network was formed to help small voices find justice. And it all began with a farmer from Earth. As Mira prepared to leave Laura Prime, a young alien girl approached her near the docking bay. Miss Mira, the girl said shyly, my family lost our ship to a false fine. But we watched your speech. My parents cried. You gave them hope. Mira knelt down. Then tell them something for me. What? Tell them they're not alone anymore. Back aboard the silver ship, Mira watched the stars again, she thought. Of her field. She thought of Bryn, the traitor she helped. She thought of Judge Gorak. She thought of how fear had ruled so many places, and how one voice had started to break it. She didn't know what came next, but she knew this. Truth was worth fighting for, even if your boots were full of mud. The light of dawn crept over Myra's small farm. Birds sang softly in the trees. The air smelled fresh with rain. For the first time in many months, Mira felt a deep calm. Her fight was not over, but the worst was behind her. The galaxy was changing. Months after the reforms, the Outer Rim was no longer a place where small traders lived in fear. Thanks to Mira's voice, many judges were replaced. Corrupt companies were watched closely. The People's Advocate Network grew fast, helping those who had no power find justice. Mira watched the news from her datapad. Stories of victories and hope filled the screen. One morning, a small ship landed near her farm. From it stepped Bryn, the traitor Mira had helped months ago. He smiled. I have good news. The shipping guild case was reopened and we won. My business is saved. Mira smiled back. I'm glad. Bryn looked around the farm. You should come back to the capital. There are others who need you. Mira shook her head. My place is here, with the Earth. Still, the galaxy called. One day, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. We invite you to join the People's Advocate Network. Your experience and voice are needed. Mira read the message quietly. She looked out at her growing crops, the soft soil, and then back at the datapad. She thought of all the people who needed help. And then she made her choice. Weeks later, Mira stood inside a new building in the capital city. It was small, simple, and filled with plants. The walls were covered in messages from traders, workers, and families who had found help. This was the home of the People's Advocate Network. She wore a new badge. Her brown coat was replaced with a clean jacket, but her eyes still held the same calm strength. A young woman came in, eyes wide and nervous. "Miss Mira," she said, "I don't have a lawyer. I'm afraid of the courts." Mira smiled gently. "You don't have to be afraid. We will listen. We will fight for you." The woman looked hopeful. Days passed. Cases came. Mira worked with teams, training others in the law. She helped write guides in many languages. She traveled to far planets by holocall and ship, but always, she remembered her roots. Her small farm on Earth, the dusty boots, the simple truth. One night, as Mira returned to her room, a message appeared on her datapad. "Thank you, Mira. Because of you, my family found justice." It was from the girl near Gamma-4. Mira smiled and typed back, "Keep learning, keep fighting. You are never alone." The galaxy was vast. The problems were many, but the story of one simple woman reminded everyone that courage is not in weapons or power. It is in standing up for truth. In using knowledge wisely, and in speaking, even when no one believes you. Mira looked out at the stars. Once more. She knew the fight would continue, but she was ready for the new dawn.